All right. I think we're live now. Nobody in here just yet, but we'll give it a minute for everybody to get signed in. Give me a minute to get all set up, and we'll get going here. So if this is your first time, let me give you the disclaimer I do every time I do these broadcasts. This is pretty much just an Ask Me Anything session. I don't have a topic planned. I just kind of let the chat dictate how the broadcast goes. I can't find where I'm doing here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So I let the chat kind of dictate how the broadcast goes. And let me move the camera out of the way here for a second. There we go. That's a little bit better. And we'll let some people get joined in here. Okay, so again, sorry, can't do two things at one time. Cannot, I got the camera all off center. Cannot set up and talk at the same time, apparently. But again, this Ask Me Anything session, pretty much just let the chat dictate how it goes. We do this pretty much every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, unless life gets in the way, which sometimes it does, and I don't get to do that. So, who we got here? Angel is here. Hello to you. Who else we got? 16 people in here so far. Let everybody get situated, start the chat going, and we'll get some conversation going here. Hey, look at that. Right off the bat, Shorty says, how can you build a chicken coop for cheap? Well, there's a lot of ways you can build a chicken coop. They don't have to be incredibly elaborate. You might look for, check Craigslist in the free area, see if somebody's giving away, some old lumber, some of those kinds of things. And you can put it together that way. You could use pallet wood if you wanted to. A lot of places will give pallets away for free, and those would make good scrap wood for you to be able to build your chicken coop out of. You can also build it, sometimes I see people selling chicken coops for fairly cheap on Craigslist as well, so you might just keep an eye out on there. It may be cheaper to buy one than it is to actually build one if you don't have all the lumber that you need. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, a lot of different things you could use. Those are my best suggestions. All right, hello to, let's see, Brad Smith is here. Abigail Oberhauser, I think I got that. Hello to you. Jesus Torres says, thank you for the channel. Well, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that. Steve says, hi from Blighty. I'm not sure where that is, but hello. And Abigail says, advice on a good nest box stuffing straw. Straw is fantastic for nest boxes. Just fill it as full as you can, punch it down with your hand a little bit, put it in the cage. She's going to be just fine. But that's what I always use is straw. You can get a whole bale of it for like $5 around here, and that'll last you forever. So, it's a pretty good deal. That would be my best suggestion for that. All right, Angel says, do rabbits do good free roam? Well, it kind of depends on a number of different things. In my opinion, I don't think it's a real good idea to free roam rabbits because they're susceptible to predators. They're much more susceptible to disease, to parasites, ticks, fleas, all those kinds of things if they're in contact with the ground. I think it's better to keep them caged up. And if you let them truly free roam with no fences around or anything like that, they're probably going to run off. You're probably never going to see them again. Even with a fence, unless you dig it down into the ground, they're probably going to dig underneath a fence and get out and go. Now, there are people that keep rabbits in colonies on the ground, and they do just fine. Just in my opinion, I don't think it's a great way to do that because of all the other risk factors that go in with that. So that's just my opinion on that. You can try it yourself, but I don't think it's going to work very well. That's just, again, my opinion. All right, Kurt says hello. Kurt Stewart, hello to you. Jeremy Helfenstein, I think I got that. Kansas City quail eggs you recommend were great. Thank you. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Kansas City quail eggs. Fantastic supplier. Great bloodlines. Just everything's great. They're just super friendly people. Great to deal with. I'm glad to hear that they went well for you. Raymond says, I'm here. Hello. Hello to you, Raymond. And Abigail says, yep, you said it right. Good. I got the last name right. I'm so bad with that sometimes. Glad to hear that, though. Let's see. Rob says, hello from Alabama. Love your channel. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sharon says, hi, Chris. Only 10 of the 20 rabbits made it. Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that. Lost 10 rabbits. Oh, man, that's... But if I remember right, excuse me, if I remember right, you had a litter of 20 rabbits. I can't say that I'm terribly surprised. That's an awful lot for one rabbit to try to take care of. So, you know, you still ended up with 10. That's a pretty good litter nonetheless. But sorry to hear that you lost so many of them. It's unfortunate. And Owen says, hi, how are you doing today? Doing great today. Thank you very much. Oh, Steve. Okay, so that is Blighty is the UK. Okay. Thank you for educating me on that. Ronald Donaldson says, asking Jeremy, which eggs did you get? So, Jeremy, you got Kansas City quail eggs, but which ones did you get? Okay, Pandums Outdoors says, don't know how long I can stay, internet issues. Wanted to at least say hello. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining for however long you can stay, and hello to you as well. All right, oh, Jeremy has already answered. He says Jumbo Pharaoh. You can't go wrong with Jumbo Pharaoh. Jumbo Pharaoh is a great line. One of my favorites. Probably those and the Jumbo Meat Makers are my favorites. There's not a huge difference between the two. All right. Fajita Snake says, do you recommend quail or rabbits for meat? That depends. Again, it's really what you like. In a lot of ways, quail kind of win out because you can ramp up your production really, really fast or ramp down your production, you know, however many you want. You can't just like, you know, coax a rabbit into having more babies. But you can incubate, you know, and you can incubate eggs, you know, 50, 100, however many you want to incubate, and then right behind those incubate another set of eggs. You don't have to wait until, you know, the babies are weaned off or any of those kinds of things. So you can really kind of get, in ways, you can get a lot more production out of quail. But on the other hand, rabbits, you know, a much bigger animal. Some people prefer rabbit meat over quail meat. Quail meat's a little bit dark. It's got, I haven't met very many people that don't like quail meat. Most of them think it's just fantastic. But you know that, again, if your preference is rabbit meat, then there's nothing wrong with rabbits either. I like having both, just to give me a little bit of variety myself. That's just my personal opinion. All right, Rob Donaldson says, cool, thanks, no problem. Oh, you're talking to Jeremy. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for answering the question. Sam says, hi, I had a first litter of Rex and 10, all lived for first-time mom. Thanks for your advice. Well, awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. 10's a pretty good litter, pretty good sized litter, so to have them all live, you're doing something right. Congratulations, well done. Abigail says, what would you consider as a late kindle day? My doe is on day 34, and I once had her kindle on 42. But what is a good time to worry? 42 is a long way out. That's a very late kindle day for sure. And I don't know if I'd worry necessarily, but usually I would say, you know, if you've had them kindle on day 42 before, don't worry about it until after day 42, of course. I would usually assume on day 40, if she hasn't had babies by then, she's not pregnant or something went wrong or something like that. But good grief, day 42, that's a long way out. All right, Brad says, do you still incubate quail eggs? Yes, I do. I incubate them quite frequently. I don't have any going right at the moment, but I'm probably going to start saving some up and stick them in the incubator. Oh, maybe next week. I don't know yet. We'll see. And, but yes, I do it quite frequently, yes. All right, Leonardo Ramos, there we go, says, good channel and a lot of useful information. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you find the videos helpful. All right, Was Koppel says, I have a female California doe that is like yours. Once she has babies, she likes to charge, not bite, just push me away. Yeah, be careful because she may decide to bite at some point. Mine, for the most part, she doesn't bite a lot. She likes to charge. She likes to pounce on you kind of like that. But every once in a while, she will grab that glove, you know, because I don't stick my hands in there without gloves on whenever she's in that mood. And she will grab the end of that glove and bite and nip at it a little bit. She's not super bad about that, but still, you know, you had bare skin out there and she nipped at it, it would probably hurt a little bit. All right, Colleen says, I have 1 A&M and 4 brown one. Is it okay to mix them? Yeah, if you want to mix them, go ahead. They're all Coturnix quails, so they will interbreed. You will probably get mostly brown babies out of there because that's the dominant color. But yes, you can definitely mix them together if you want to. Go for it. IY Unioshi, I think I got that right, says, I've heard people say that quail eggs are good raw, but can you get disease from that? Well, you can get disease from just about anything, honestly. The risk of transmitting disease through a raw quail egg is very, very low, though. They're not like chicken eggs. They don't carry a high risk of salmonella. It's almost unheard of in quail. So there's very little to worry about with eating quail eggs raw. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence that says that they can, they're very beneficial to you. and they can cure a lot of different things. So yeah, it's fine to eat them raw in most times. I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right. Danny Abdulaziz, I think I got that, says, hey, Chris, hope all is good. I have eggs hatch at day 23. Had eggs hatch at day 23. Well, congratulations on your hatch. Everything's going well here. Thank you. And day 23, that means that you might, your temperature, your incubator temperature might be a little bit low. It might be reading it right, but the thermometer might be off, or the thermostat, I should say, might be off just a little bit. So it may be incubating at maybe like a degree low, and that could cause for them to start hatching out a little bit late. It's not uncommon, though, for some birds to hatch out a little bit later, but if that's the majority of when they hatched, it sounds like, again, your incubator temperature might be just a little bit low. I would try getting a couple of calibrated thermometers, make sure they're calibrated. Make sure they're accurate. Get 2 of them, because that way you'll know if any 2 of the thermometers between the incubator and the 2 thermometers are reading correctly, then that's probably the right temperature, and you can kind of double check your incubator temperature that way. But hey, congratulations on your hatch. All right, so Sergio says, my little giant stopped heating up at 99.5. I had to turn it up to 110 just to get a little heat. What do you think is wrong? So you set it at 110 and it wasn't getting up to that temperature. That's strange. I would say contact the company. One of 2 things could be going on. It could be, again, that the temperature sensor is wrong, so it's not reading the temperature correctly, or it could be that the heating element is going out and it's not able to produce the heat for it. I mean, unless you've got it in like a really drafty, cold room, those are the 2 things that I would suggest are probably the big deal. If you contact the company, they're really, really good about standing behind their product. I had one of their thermostats go out on me. It contacted them. They sent me a new one right away. So that's what I would go with, is contact the company and see what they can do to make that right for you. All right, Angel says, my California quail is laying eggs almost every other day. They're not fertile since I don't have a rooster. Do you know if I get one, her upcoming eggs will be fertile as in the ones in the small batch? Okay, hang on. Do you know if I get one, her upcoming egg? Oh, if you get a rooster, will her upcoming eggs be fertile as in the ones in the small batch? I'm not sure if I completely understand that question. I think what you're saying is you don't have a rooster right now, so your California quail is laying eggs, but they're not fertile. If you get a rooster, will the eggs be fertile? Well, I mean, yeah, if the rooster's breeding, they will be for sure. You should be able to tell that pretty easily. If they do breed, though, I would give her, 2 weeks probably before you start saving the eggs and using them for incubating. You can actually check to see if they're fertile or not, though. You just crack one open, dump the yolk out, and look at the yolk. There'll be a little white spot on the yolk, and then a bullseye kind of circle. It's real faint. It's not super defined, but if you're looking at, if you like really study the eggs now, you'll see a little white spot, no bullseye circle around them. And when they're fertile, they'll have that bullseye circle around the little white spot. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. But that's how you can kind of check if they're fertile or not. Hopefully I answered that question. All right, Urban Garden, there we go, says, I just hatched out 23 quail, my first time incubating. Thank you for your channel. Well, thank you so much for watching, and congratulations on your hatch. That's fantastic, 23 birds. All right, Tony says, hi, I have a white bobwhite quail. Do you know how often they lay? Quail, they're not nearly as good a layers as Coturnix are, so you're probably not going to get like an egg a day out of them. They will lay fairly frequently when they're in the breeding season, when they've got enough light, 14 hours a day of light. But I would say probably one every other day, one every couple of days, something like that is about how often you would expect the bobwhite to lay. All right, Christian says, Chris, many times a year, or how many times a year do you incubate? It varies. I don't really keep track of it. I just incubate whenever I, feel like I have time. Whenever I do quite frequently through the summer. I usually don't do much in the dead of winter, but I'll start incubating. Like I've already incubated a couple of batches this year, and I'll keep that going all the way through the summer, all the way into the fall. When we really get into the heart of winter, like late November, I usually stop, give them December, January, February off, and maybe start back up again in mid-March, somewhere right around in there. And that's more for my convenience, just because it's so cold out at that time. I don't like to keep them inside in the brooder box for long periods of time. It's kind of a pain. It's, you know, work to keep it clean and all those kinds of things. So in the summertime, I can move them out a lot earlier, and in the wintertime, I have to hold them longer. So I just really kind of just give them that time frame off. All right, excuse me. Got something in my throat tonight. All right, Pandoms Outdoors has a answer for you on your Bob White, Tony. Says mine lay an egg at least every other day. So yeah, I think that's probably a good, you know, every other day, every couple of days, you should expect an egg. All right, Outside in Georgia says, getting jumbo meat maker eggs tomorrow to start my quail adventure. Thanks. Awesome. Jumbo meat makers are a great bird. You're not going to be upset with that at all. Good luck with your hatch. Hope it works well. Brian says, some of my quail are laying big eggs. Can I incubate them? Generally speaking, the big eggs, the really large ones, like overly large eggs, are going to be double yolk eggs. It's not a good idea to incubate those. They very seldom hatch. If they do, there's usually deformities or problems, and the birds don't really survive. It's best to just not incubate them. Keep them out of your incubator. That's my advice. All right. IY Unio, she says, wow, you are very knowledgeable. Thanks. Well, some things maybe, but thank you very much for the kind comments. I appreciate that. And Recyclops says, well, I said, ask me anything. Says, what's your favorite TV show or movie? Every once in a while we get questions that aren't necessarily about rabbits or quail, and that's fine. We can talk about life in general too. My favorite TV show or movie? Boy, I don't know. Let's see. What are my favorite TV shows? Let's see. Well, I can tell you some of the shows that we DVR. Let's see. The Walking Dead. We do kind of like The Walking Dead. Guilty pleasure. What else do we watch on a regular basis? The Rookie is a fairly new TV show that came out. Kind of like that one. That one's a good one. There's a couple of others. I'm trying to remember what they are. I don't remember. And as far as movies go, boy, I don't know if I have an absolute favorite movie. You know, I like all the Marvel movies, you know, the Avengers and all those. I haven't seen the latest one. I like, oh, well, there's a whole bunch of them out there. I don't know. I can't really give you a whole lot more. You just caught me off guard there. It's hard for me to come up with good ones to share with you guys. All right, Shaylin says, how many rabbits do you currently have? Let's see, how many do I have? I have my two breeders, my doe and my buck, and then I have seven grow outs right now, so that makes 9. I have 9 rabbits right now. Urban Garden says, my 6 hens I have are 8.5 weeks, no eggs yet. They are jumbo. They're not outside yet, as it's Ontario. Any suggestions? Well, the biggest thing that affects that is the amount of light. They got to have 14 hours a day of light. It doesn't have to be super bright light, but they do have to have 14 hours a day of light. So if you're keeping them inside, you know, that's pretty easy. You just leave the lights on a little bit longer. If you've got them in like stacking cages where you've got one on top of the other, you may have to add some kind of light that shines, you know, through, because if you're just using overhead lights, the bottom cage is going to be in the shadow all the time. So, you know, that's most of the time what the issue is when your birds aren't laying. But then again, 8.5 weeks, I mean, that's just right at about the time they should start laying. So chances are, now that you've asked, you're going to start getting eggs. They tend to do that to me too. It's like, as soon as I go in and ask somebody about it, it's like they know, and they're like, ah, ha, ha, he asked, and they go to lay eggs, make you look like an idiot, or make me look like an idiot anyway. But so if you've got plenty of light, you're just going to have to be patient. They'll start laying here pretty quick. All right. Outside in Georgia says, how can I find out all the edible parts of the quail I can eat? Well, I guess technically you could eat all of it, but do you really want to eat all of it? I would say, I mean, any place, you know, the legs and the breast, that's really all the meat that's on them. There's not really much other than that. The heart is good. You know, you can fry that up, just clean it out real good and fry it up. I know there are lots of people that eat other things. I don't eat the livers. I like rabbit liver quite a bit, but quail liver to me is just not worth it. But yes, I don't eat the other offal, the other intestines, internal organs. I don't eat any of those. You'd have to look somewhere else if you want to get advice on those. But those are the parts that I know of that are edible. All right. Hyatt AFG says, hi from Alberta, Canada. When is the time for Chuckar partridge to start laying eggs? I had a pair for almost 3 years. I can't answer that for you, unfortunately. I don't raise partridge. I've never raised them, so I don't know the exact time frame. I believe that they're going to take somewhere like 6 months, I want to say, but that's just a guess. I really don't know that one for sure. All right, was Koppel says, are you familiar with Dotson 77A's channel? I'm not. He raises a lot of meat rabbits and chickens, also a lot of gardening, etc. Sounds like a good guy, but no, I'm not familiar with that channel. I may have to check it out. Rhonda, hello, sorry I missed you last week. Hey, we're sorry we missed you too, but that's okay. Says, my rabbit that I didn't even know was pregnant had 12 babies yesterday. Wow. She was the one that I was having a hard time lifting and had 10 with her first litter. Well, sounds like you got that problem fixed. Congratulations on your babies. 12's a pretty big litter. Nice. Clueless Homestead said, I just got 9 Coturnix quail. They are 1 week old now. Wait, they are 1 week old, now 2 weeks. Oh, they were 1 week old when you got them. Now they're 2 weeks. When can I move them to the out of the brooder and into outdoor cages? Excellent question. So usually by about 2 weeks old, they're almost fully feathered out. And you can pretty much wean them off the heat. You don't need a heat lamp on the brooder anymore, assuming you're keeping them in an area that's got a fairly decent steady temperature that's not going to drop too low. You know, I like to say, and I don't know exactly where you're located, so I don't know what your weather's like right there. But at 2 weeks old, they're a little bit early probably to move outside unless your nighttime lows aren't getting below like 75 or 80. You know, if they're around there, then yeah, you could go ahead and move them outside if you wanted to. I would give them a little bit, you know, maybe move the brooder box out to a garage if you have one that stays a little bit more temperature controlled, a little bit warmer. Give them a day or two out there and then move them outside. Other than that, usually by 3 weeks, they're ready to go outside in anything. Even, I wouldn't put them outside necessarily at 3 weeks old in anything below freezing temperature, but anything above freezing, they should be fine at about 3 weeks old. Again, if you can kind of wean them off that though, you don't want to take them from 75 in your house or 72 or whatever you keep it at out to 30 degrees, you know, and just suddenly like that. It'd be best to maybe take them outside, give them some time outside in, you know, the cool of the evening, the cool of the morning, whatever, and then bring them back in. Do that maybe 2 or 3 days, and then they should be good to just go ahead and move out. Hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. So again, if your nighttime lows aren't getting below, you know, the 60s maybe, then, you know, you probably are okay to start, you know, weaning them off the heat lamp, moving them outside a little bit, and then go ahead and move them out. If they're going to drop any lower than that, then I would wait at least another week before I did that. So hopefully that clears that up. Sergio says, okay, yeah, I'm thinking that's why I had a low hatch rate, because the temp didn't stay at right temp. I didn't calibrate it, but I will as soon as I get a new control from Miller. Yep, that could be very well the issue. Most of the time with your, if you have a poor hatch rate, it's a temperature issue. All right, Jakir says, hello, Chris. Nice to see you again. How the week comes around so fast. It does indeed. Hope you and your family are doing well. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Everybody is doing pretty well here. You know, my wife just had surgery last week, but she is recovering very, very quickly. And she's not 100% yet, but pretty close to 100%. Doing very, very well. Thank you. All right, Rhonda Sneer says, big Walking Dead fan here as well. Yeah, there's a few of us still left out there. I got to think the show's going to end before long, but it was a good show while it lasted. Danny says, I just put 150 eggs in the little giant incubator. Wow, that's a bunch of eggs. Hopefully you have a good hatch rate. Good luck with that. And Jose, wow, that's a last name. I'm assuming that's not all your last name. That's Dominguez. Yeah, Jose Dominguez, GFBDJ, a bunch of letters. Okay. Says, hi, good to see your videos. Good to see your videos. Okay, we have learned a lot from you. I just want to ask you, will I get a low hatch rate if I feed my quail layer crumbles mix with games? No, you shouldn't. No, you can mix the feed. The feed's going to have very little effect on your hatch rate itself. What it does have an effect on is, you know, maybe whether the birds will lay eggs or not, but mixing in a layer crumble with your game bird starter is probably going to be just fine. If you notice your egg production starting to drop, or you may have to bump the protein up just a little bit, you will also want to make sure that when the babies especially, you want to give them the higher protein game bird starter. They need that to really develop. They need the high protein to develop their muscle, to grow fast, all those kinds of things. But it's not going to affect your hatch rate. Okay, Brad Smith says, what's in the brown case behind you? The brown case behind me. Oh, that's my shotgun. Turkey season the last couple of weeks. It's over now, but I haven't put my shotgun away yet. So that's what's in the brown case behind me. All right. Kale Banner says, hello from up in Maine. First-time quail owner. Your videos have been a huge help. Thanks for the great comment. Or great content. Well, thank you so much for the kind comments. And wow, Maine, that's a ways up there, but hopefully you're finding the videos helpful, and good luck with your new birds. Sergio says, what kind of feed do you feed your quail? I feed all my quail a game bird starter. It's a crumble feed. Let's see, I don't think I have any in here, do I? Hang on, I might. Let me check. Oh, I have a little bit still from the Brooder. So it's a, so hopefully you can see that. It's a crumble feed, and that's what all my birds get fed. It's a, whoa, almost fell over there. You guys would have got to see something pretty funny probably. It's a 28% protein. No, it's a 30% protein. Mine is, but you know, anything above about 25% is good. But that's what all my birds get fed from the time they come out of the egg till the time they get butchered or processed or whatever. I feed them all that. And you don't have to grind it up for the babies or anything. They do just fine on it. All right. Raymond says, what gives more pressure on auto water cups, higher container or larger container? You know, I think I saw that you posted that in the Facebook group, and I've been so bad about responding in the Facebook group. I'm sorry, guys. It's been incredibly busy, and I got behind on it. I've got to warn you, I'm not the best at social media anyway. I tend to get tied up with other things and not pay much attention to it, but I did see that comment. I meant to go in and comment on it. I don't think I did. So let's address it right here. With an auto watering cup, it's really the height of the container. The bottom of the container needs to be above wherever your water cups are. And if it's above it, then that's all you need. That's going to give you plenty of water pressure on it. It doesn't matter if it's 6 feet above it or 2 feet above it or 6 inches above it. It's the gravity itself pulling the water down is what gives the pressure. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. All right, Urban Garden says, thank you. I can't wait for eggs that I grew, essentially. Oh, I can't wait for eggs that I grew, essentially. Okay, they have artificial light and a UVB bulb. It'll just be more patient. Yeah, and you don't even need special lighting. You don't even need to do the UVB or any of that kind of stuff. But that's, it's fine to go ahead and do it, but you don't need to necessarily. As long as they have 14 hours a day of light, just be patient with them. They'll start laying pretty soon. Okay, K-Thomp. Excuse me. All right, K-Thomp says, what age do you start breeding rabbits? Generally speaking, about 6 months for most of them is a good age to start breeding them. All right. Walt says, hello, just got off the bus. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Walt. Appreciate that. We're always catching you either on the bus, getting on the bus, or off the bus. So I appreciate you joining us every week. Thank you. And Clueless Homesteader says, if you were going to give quail and rabbit parts to a dog, what would you give them other than livers and hearts? And would you cook or feed raw? You know, it depends on how you want to do it. My old dog, she would eat the whole bird. I don't know if my current dog would or not. He might eventually, but I'm not sure. He's not nearly as food motivated as my old dog was. But yeah, you can give them the whole animal if you want to. They'll eat the whole thing. It's fine. Just let them eat what they want to eat of it. You can give it to them raw if you want to. I wouldn't bother cooking it. There's lots of people that raise, quail, raise rabbits just specifically for raw feed. And you can feed them the entire thing. It's fine to feed them the entire thing. All right, Rhonda Sneer says, I just put my first set of eggs from my quail in the incubator. I have 8 hens, but didn't get 8 eggs a day. I only collected eggs for 4 days because I'm thinking that's why my hatch rate was a little low. You can save eggs up to about 10 days usually. Well, up to about 7 days. After 7 days, the fertility does start to drop in them a little bit. But you can save them up for up to 7 days before you start incubating them. Just make sure you keep them fairly cool. You really want to keep them below about 75 degrees and above about 45 degrees. You don't want to put them in the refrigerator. If you can find a cooler. What I do is I just put like a little ice pack in a cooler and set the eggs in there. Like I put them in an egg carton so they're not sitting on the ice pack. But that keeps it cool but not too cold in the cooler. And turn them a couple of times a day. And what I do is I just set like a mason jar, like a little jelly jar inside the cooler, put them in an egg carton and set the egg carton in, so it's sitting at an angle. And I just turn it around. So it's sitting at an angle like this, and then turn it around and sit at an angle like this, if that makes sense. Do that a couple of times a day, and they will usually, it's fine. You don't have to worry about getting them incubated quicker than, you know, like I said, about 7 days. Something must have bit me. I've got like a little bump here, and it's itching like crazy. All right, Abigail says, King Thump, normally for males, 6 months, females about a year. Well, yeah, you can wait a year for females. Honestly, about 6 months is probably okay for either one of them. Depends on the breed, though. If you're talking about like something like a Flemish Giant or something like that, the females are going to take a little bit longer to mature, and then I would suggest for sure a year. All right. Bropocalypse says, can you feed quail feet to dogs? Sure, if they'll eat them, you can feed them to them. I don't think I would try to make that their main diet. That's not nutritionally complete, but yeah, you can feed them to them if they want them. All right, Rhonda says, after 4 days, I take them out. Oh, so you let you left the eggs in with the birds, and then after 4 days took them out? No, I would collect them every day, and like I kind of already explained, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. K-Thom says, do you have your garden in? Not yet. The summer garden's not really in yet. I mean, I have some onions planted, I have some garlic, I have the stuff I've shown you guys, lettuce and some of those kinds of things, but the summer garden, the tomatoes, the peppers, that stuff, that's not in yet. I was planning on planting this weekend because it's still awful early. Well, right now is about the time I usually plant, second week of May. But it has been, I mean, it's like unseasonably cold out there today. I think it only got up to maybe 60 degrees today. And, I mean, it got down in the low 50s last night. And tonight it's supposed to be down in the mid 40s, like 45. And that's just a little chilly for like peppers and tomatoes and things. They like the heat. It's unseasonably cold. I mean, that's rare. We're not usually that chilly at night this time of year. After tonight, it's supposed to warm up, and I think we've got one more day next week where it's supposed to get down in the 40s, but it'll be like 48. I think they'll be okay to make it through that, and they will. I mean, they won't die. They're just not going to do anything. They may go a little bit dormant for a little while. So the problem I've got right now is I've got all these peppers and tomatoes and things like that started. The tomato plants are, you know, that big. They're huge. They're growing. They're going to get root bound in those pots. They've got to be put in the ground. So I think I'm going to have to just do it this weekend. All right. Eddie Shirez is here, and don't worry, Eddie. We're not taking attendance. We're not going to count you late. It'll be okay. All right. Rhonda says, "Did you get any turkey? We have seen a few here in the city." No, I did not get a turkey. The place I turkey hunt is my uncle's property. It's where we deer hunt as well. And there are some turkey out there, but there's not a ton of them. So my cousin and I turkey hunt together. I got a turkey a couple of years ago, and so it was his turn to get the next turkey. Opening day, we went out there, heard turkeys in the woods. We kind of chased them through the woods for about 4 hours, finally called that one in. He got it. Great turkey. It's a 25-pound bird, had a 12-inch beard, 1.5-inch spurs, really nice bird. That was the opening day of, well, the opening weekend, I should say, of turkey season. We went back the next day, the next Saturday, and the Saturday after that, see if I could get one. Didn't hear another bird the entire time. So it was a bust for me this year, but that's okay. We had a great time hunting his bird. Probably one of the best hunts I've ever been on, period. It was a fantastic day. All right. Outside in Georgia says, how does rain affect outdoor quail? Would they be okay on one of those days when it rains all day long? As long as they have shelter, as long as they have somewhere where they can get out of the rain, they're fine. It doesn't bother them at all. Not in my experience anyway. Now, if they're just having to stand out in the rain the entire time, then yeah, that's a little bit different. But so they need a place to be able to get out of the rain, get off the ground if it's going to puddle up. You don't want them standing in water all day long and not being able to get out of it. All right. Sam Brooks says, how long can I leave bucks and does together? They are 4 weeks now. Oh, okay. You mean how long, when do you need to separate them out? Yeah, I would separate them out by 12 weeks. You know, at the latest, 12 weeks is probably a good time to go ahead and separate them out. But you've got a while. It's nothing to worry about right now. All right. Where are we at here? Boris says, Hello to Chris. Hello to you, Boris. And Rhonda Snare says, I give mine the ears. Give what ear? The ears. Oh, give your dogs the ears probably. Yeah, I do rabbit ears. Yeah, I give my dog rabbit ears too. He loves them. They're great. Whenever I go to process rabbits, I always save the ears. Throw them in the oven at like 100 degrees, the lowest temperature I can with the door cracked for, 10 hours or something like that. And it dehydrates them. And they become like little potato chips for him. He just loves them. All right. Brittany Olson says, Chris, just had my second batch. I ordered the eggs from a hatchery. Last time I didn't lose any chicks. This time I've lost 12 so far. Do you ever have an issue with them dying for no reason? Not very often. If you're talking about once they're in the brooder box and then they're dying after they're in the brooder box out of the incubator, that doesn't happen to me very often. Occasionally I'll lose one or two. It's usually a bird that is a little bit weak, maybe hatched a little bit late, or, sorry, let me grab a drink there real quick. Something like that, so there's something wrong with the bird anyway. But for them to just die for no reason, it's rare for me. The thing I would look at is maybe your temperature. Wait, let's look. You've got another comment down there. It says, I look in the brooder, everyone's happy, healthy. 20 minutes later, I come back and one is dead. That does happen every once in a while. I'll lose one or two here or there, but 12 is an awful lot. There may be some kind of bacteria issue going on in there. There may be a genetic issue, depending on the birds that you're getting. There are some birds that carry a, what do they call that? The fatal gene, the terminal gene, I think is what that is. Where it is just like a sudden death thing that happens. And it doesn't happen to every bird. Not every bird's going to carry it. So it could be something like that genetically. They've got a gene that's causing them to just, like you said, all of a sudden just die for no reason whatsoever. It could be that your temperature may be a little bit low. If they've got a chance to get into the water and get themselves wet, then they can chill very, very easily, even under a heat lamp. So that could be another issue with it too. But I think you would probably notice that. I'm sorry I don't have the best advice for you, but that is probably, sorry, I'm trying to scroll in comments. That's really about all I got on it. Abigail says, Sam Brooks, just check that the males aren't sexually mature. Oh, talking about the rabbit, keeping the males and the females together. Yep, good advice on that. You say 7 weeks, Abigail. I usually am fine up to 12 weeks, but 7 weeks isn't a bad practice either. I would say, 8 weeks, you can get away with at least 8 weeks. I find that 12 weeks is fine. But, again, everybody, if you want to move them off earlier than that, separate them earlier than that, then go ahead and do it. Brittany Olson says, I look in the brooder okay, already got that one, sorry. Rhonda says, I'm thinking the eggs shrink wrap themselves when I took the chicks out, so I'm hoping the 4 days collecting helps. So, well, could be. I'm kind of lost on that one, Rhonda. I'm not sure when. They shouldn't be shrink wrapping themselves unless they pipped the egg inside the incubator and you open the incubator at that point. Other than that, it shouldn't be an issue. All right, Brad says, have you ever had a quail with spurs? I don't think I have, and I'm not sure if I understand what you mean by spurs exactly. I should probably know that, but I'm a little bit lost on this right now. I'm sorry. Two Girls and an Acre Homestead says, I have a silver fox rabbit. One of my doe's ears curl over at the top a little. Do you know what that could be from? Yeah, more than likely it's from the heat. A lot of the times you will see that, like you'll see a like a New Zealand white or something like that. It's got one ear that just flops down, and a lot of times that's because they, especially rabbits that were born in the summer, in the heat of summer, and the heat can cause that to happen when they're young, and it just stays that way. It just never changes. It's nothing to worry about. It doesn't cause any problems with the rabbit. It's perfectly normal. It's fine. I wouldn't stress about it at all. All right, Rhonda Snare says, only collecting for 4 days, brought the eggs into the house, didn't leave them in with the quails, okay? And then put them in the TNT incubator, so I'm hoping I won't accidentally hurt any of the eggs when I take them. Okay, yeah, I don't know that I'd worry. I'd take them out of the incubator 4 days after they start to hatch. Oh, okay, 4 days after they start to hatch. That's unlikely. I mean, it's possible, but if you're waiting 4 days and there's still eggs that haven't hatched at that point, chances of them hatching at that point are probably slim. Chances are there was something wrong with the eggs that they didn't hatch. Either the incubator temperature was low, the eggs weren't fertile, I mean, it could be, who knows, any number of things. But yeah, I wouldn't stress about that. Just try again. You'll probably do just fine. Steve says, have you ever thought about keeping bees? I have thought about it. It's something I may do at some point. I don't know. I don't have any solid plans to go about doing it. But yeah, it's something I've considered doing. Okay, Nachir Vaughn. Hopefully I got your name right. I'm pretty sure I probably pronounced it wrong. Says, my quail laying egg without a shell. Very, very common. It's usually nothing to worry about. It's very common, especially when the birds first start laying eggs. So what you'll have is, you've got these birds, they've been growing up, they finally hit sexual maturity, you finally get an egg or two out of them, and in the process, it takes them a couple of weeks to really get on a consistent egg-laying cycle, and in that process, they're probably going to lay a couple of weird eggs. You're going to get some with no shell, you're going to get some that are great big, some that are little bitty tiny, you're going to get all kinds of weird things going on. It's nothing to worry about. The only thing I would say, I mean, you can check, but generally speaking, the calcium is not going to affect them laying an egg with no shell. It might cause them to lay eggs with weak shells. So you can check your feed and see if it's got, at least like 1.5 to 2% calcium. You don't really want much more than 2%. You don't want it to be below 1.5%. So as long as it's in that range, it's probably fine. Don't worry about it. Just chalk it up to a weird egg, and they'll quit doing that pretty quick. All right. Walt says you're going to lose some birds. Failure to thrive. Yeah, you are going to lose some birds from time to time, like you said. 12 out of the batch, though. I mean, that's a considerable amount. All right, Clueless Homesteaders says, do quail need grit like chickens? You know what? That depends. If you're feeding them just like commercial feed, like quail, chick starter, game bird starter, any of those kinds of things, no, they don't need grit. If you're feeding them a more natural diet, I should say, like bugs and greens and those kinds of things, then yeah, having some grit on hand is going to be something good for them. But if you're not feeding them all those kinds of things, you don't need to worry about feeding them grit. All right. Brad says on their feet. Oh, spurs on their feet. No, I've never had a problem with them really having spurs on them. Walt says rooster chickens have spurs like tom turkeys. Yeah, quail don't. I've never had any spurs on my quail's feet. Christian says, Chris, you sell quail on Craigslist. That is the weirdest thing someone has asked you. Oh, Chris, you sell quail on Craigslist. What is the weirdest thing someone has asked you? I assume you mean the weirdest thing they've asked me in relation to selling quail. I don't really get any weird questions on that. I get people contact me and say, do you still have them available? How much are they? And they buy them. I mean, there's not, I don't think I really get really weird questions on that. Now, I do get some weird questions every once in a while in a comment or a Facebook message or something like that, but I don't know what the weirdest one I've ever been asked is. I think the weird ones are usually the ones that I think are weird anyway, where it's like, I get quite a few of these, like somebody comes in and says, I have a male, I have two rabbits together, I didn't know they were pregnant, they had their babies, and, they had babies, and, should I separate the male out? The babies are now 3 weeks old. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that female's probably already bred and pregnant again, getting ready to have another one. It's so hard on her. Those are always kind of strange. But no, I don't know what the exact weirdest question I've ever been asked is. All right, Rhonda says, yes, the eggs were pipped, and I didn't know. I have the incubator up high because of my kids, and I don't know until it was too late when I was just... Oh, yeah, that happens. Sometimes the eggs pip and the bird just can't make it out, and it's nothing you did wrong. It's just a weak bird for whatever reason, so don't beat yourself up over it. It's okay. All right, Abigail says, one of my buns got a bite on his ear, and now he has a small chip. How do I make sure it doesn't get infected? It has scabbed over. You probably don't need to do anything, honestly. Just watch it. If it looks like it's getting infected, you can treat with an antibiotic ointment. Don't use one that has pain reliever in it. You can use like a Neosporin or something is fine. But again, don't get the one with pain reliever in it. Pain reliever is it can be toxic to your animals. So just get the regular like Neosporin triple antibiotic ointment and you can use that. But I wouldn't do it unless you like, chances are it's going to heal up just fine. You don't have to worry about it. It's probably not going to get infected. Rabbits are very, very clean and they do a pretty good job of keeping themselves clean. So I just wouldn't worry about it too much. Clueless Homestead says, bees are a lot of fun. You should do it. Well, I might at some point. Never know. Rhonda says, I decided to feed my quail crushed up eggs and they went crazy over them. It was like the best meal ever for them. Interesting. They may be a little bit deficient on calcium, actually, if they're going that crazy over the crushed up eggs. All right, BB says, do you and your family raise quail primarily for the meat or the eggs? Well, it's really both. It's maybe more for the eggs in a sense because we always get eggs whether we're raising up meat birds or not. But really both. We do it for both reasons. Walt says shellless eggs are practice eggs, as miniature eggs are called fairy eggs. Yep, that's absolutely right. Raymond Philly says, I feed my chicken crushed boiled eggs as a treat. Can I boil quail eggs for the quail? Yeah, sure you can. I crush them up so they don't recognize them as, their eggs and don't start trying to eat their eggs. But yeah, you can definitely do that. And thanks. This is, boy, see if I can do it again. Nashir, hopefully I got it right, says, thanks for your answer. It's useful. And yes, you pronounced my name good. Thanks again. You are absolutely welcome. I probably mispronounced it the second time. I got it right once though, anyway. Rhonda says, I have someone ask me if they could bring their doe over to be bred. I said, sure, and they didn't respond. And then she goes on to say, sorry for all the questions and comments, going to make up for last week. Don't apologize for that. That's okay. That's exactly what the live broadcast is for. It's just to interact with you guys, get your questions out here, do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them, Walt's usually got an answer for us. And looks like Abigail's got some pretty good answers for everybody else too. So we've got plenty of people in here that can usually answer the question. Although we didn't get an answer on the partridge question from earlier. So about when do partridge start laying eggs? We didn't get an answer to that. But all right, Clueless Homesteaders got to run. Thanks so much for your time. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. And I sure hope that you have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here next week, hopefully. All right, well, let's see. The live chat has started to slow down a little bit. How much time we got here? About 10 more minutes here before we wrap things up for the evening. Just to give you guys some updates, I think I already did kind of, everybody knows my wife had surgery. Well, maybe not everybody knows. Wife had surgery last week. That is her fifth surgery in the last year and a half. Actually, last year. In the last year, she's had 5 surgeries. So it's been difficult, I guess, in a sense. She's, getting kind of worn out, but she is strong. She's in good spirits. She's recovering very, very well. Like I said, almost back to 100% now. She was only off work for 3 days and just back to work. So it's, a little bit of recovery ahead. Would appreciate the continued prayers for her healing. But all in all, God's been good to us. He's watched out for us and he's taking care of us like he always does. All right. Phil McCracken says, I just bought eggs hatched, got different colored does. Oh, got different colors. Does that mean that there's not jumbos? I thought they only came in 2 colors. Well, there are jumbos in a couple of different colors, but chances are if you're getting a lot of different colors in there, they're probably not jumbo birds. But they might be. It's hard to say for sure. Steve says, what time is it over there? What time is it over there? I think you mean what time is it like where I'm located right now? Right now it is, 7:50? Yeah, 7:50 p.m. BB says, how's the sip? I don't know what that means. How's the sip? How's the... I'm sure. Oh, sub-irrigated planter. Duh. I was thinking. I know I should know this. You know. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, it's doing okay. I think I've got a leak in that plastic. I don't think I used used plastic. It was used for other things, and I don't think it's not holding water nearly as much as it should be. Nearly as much as my other self-watering containers. Right now, it's not an issue because it's raining every day. I mean, it's spring, so it rains like every day, every other day. So I don't need to worry about it. But I do think that I may have to, at the end of the season, tear it apart and put some other kind of liner, or get brand new plastic to use for it instead of using used plastic. All right. Michelle says, is that Michelle? No, it's Michael Roland. I get that name mixed up for some reason. Sorry. It says, prayers for your wife, Chris. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Rhonda says, I have a hen that is very friendly. She's super sweet. You know, I've got somebody that lives not too far from me, found me through YouTube, and has bought some quail from me and brought me some birds, and we've done some trading. And she's got this bird that sits on her shoulder. She just carries it around with her all over the place. It's a little white quail, Quaternics, tame as can be. Just hangs out on her shoulder with her, but it takes a little bit of work to get one that tame. Reap what you sow says, hello, y'all. Can't stay. Just wanted to stop by and say hello. Thank you so much for stopping by and saying hello. I appreciate it. I bet you could probably answer the question about how long does it take the Chuck-our partridge to start laying eggs. I can't remember the exact time frame, but if you've got an answer for that and you want to share, we'd appreciate that. Let's see, what else has been going on this week while we've got a little bit slow chat here? Not much. I mean, it's been crazy. Like I said, it's been raining every day for the last week, pretty much. Rivers are all flooding. It's just, I mean, it's not like dangerous flooding, but the rivers are all up. It's that time of year. And good grief, last Wednesday, I think it was, or Thursday, whatever day it was, Wednesday, I think it was, we had like 3 inches of rain in like 20 minutes. It was crazy. It looked like a river outside in front of my house. The road was just full of water. It was a crazy amount of rain. All right. Outside in Georgia says, ideas for cheap quail wire cage roof. Ideas for cheap quail wire cage roof. Okay, so you want to put a roof on your quail hutch, and you want to put a wire roof on it, and you want something that's pretty cheap. I'm having a hard time coming up with anything that's going to be cheaper than hardware cloth. You could go with chicken wire, but chicken wire is incredibly flimsy. Most predators are going to be able to get through chicken wire pretty easily. So I don't really think that's a great option unless you wanted to, maybe double it up, one over the other, and then you're kind of getting away with it's not as cheap anymore. I really think that, your best bet is going to be hardware cloth if you're looking for a wire roof. As far as the, I put a, barn tin, basically, sheet metal roof over the top of mine, and that was free. It was somebody had it like a shed they had torn down, and it was the scraps off that, and they posted on Facebook, and I went and got it. All right, so RSL82568 says, my name is Scott. I have some laying hens, but one of the hens keeps sitting on all the eggs. What does this mean? Sounds like that hen is broody and wants to hatch out the eggs. There have been some people, if you're talking about quail, there have been some people that have had some success with Quaternics quail going broody and sitting on the eggs like that, and then they'll hatch them out. But generally speaking, it's not the most successful. So, you can give her a shot and try. What do you have to lose? See if she'll hatch out the babies for you. It'd be interesting if she did. Walt found the charging cable. Good. I'm always looking for a charging cable, it seems like. Rhonda says, yeah, I don't know if she's that tame. Talking about the bird sitting on her shoulder. I don't know if she's that tame, but that's awesome. She's always comes over and wants to be held when I collect eggs. Interesting. Where are we at here? Yep, Walt's jumping in and saying, yep, to RSL, it is broody. That's what it means. The Garrisons say, hey, saw where you lived and wanted to stop by and say hi. I've been watching your videos for a while now, and I just had my first, saw you were live. Okay. I was getting a little creeped out there. What do you mean you saw where I live and you want to stop by and say hi? But you saw that I was live and you wanted to stop by and say hi. You've been watching the videos for a while now, and just had my first successful quail hatch. 15 out of 20 eggs were fertile and 14 hatched. Very nice. You did a great job with that. Thanks for stopping by and telling us that, by the way. I'm so glad to hear that they're doing very, very well. Rhonda Snare says, so happy your wife's doing better. Me too. Thank you. Garrison says, stucco mesh is what I've used for my birds. Hey, that's probably a good suggestion. Home Depot sells it in large 150-foot rolls. Nice. Thank you for sharing that with us. Christian says, Chris, I give my bird a hard-boiled chicken egg to eat. Can I give the quail eggs? Can I give the quail eggs? Yeah, you can absolutely give the quail eggs, for sure. BB says, have you ever heard or seen your quail kill mice? No, I've never heard of that. I don't think the quail are strong enough to kill a mouse. Chickens will for sure, but I don't think the quail are. You know, occasionally you'll get birds that are kind of aggressive and they'll peck at you, and it's, you know, I mean, it's hard to even feel it. It's not like a chicken with a real strong, hard, you know, peck. The quail are not nearly that strong. Noah says, love your videos. Whenever I have a question, your videos always help me. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to hear that the videos are helping you out. Walt says, shop Amazon or eBay for the best price on hardware cloth. You know, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, Walt. Well, and maybe, I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but what I found is that online, I can't find a good price on hardware cloth. It's almost always cheaper to buy it from a local retailer. Hardware cloth's not that expensive, but it's, you know, the shipping basically is what gets you online. You know, Amazon's got free shipping, but a lot of times the suppliers will bump up the price of their product just a little bit to kind of help cover that shipping. And I find it almost always cheaper to buy it at a local hardware store than it does to order it online. Michael says, hey, Chris, I have one brown Coturnix that loves to run, just run and want to fight with your feet. And when you walk by him, he is a fun quail. I have to keep him separate from the other quail. I can imagine. He says he'll sit on your lap and watch TV. Does not like to be ignored. Interesting. Yeah, my birds pretty much want to be left alone most of the time, but I don't really mess with them that much. I go out and collect eggs in the morning, and they're not freaked out by that, but they don't want to be handled or anything. I mean, they'll let me reach in and, you know, move them out of the way without freaking out, but they don't really want to be handled. The Urban Garden says, my hens are so hand tame, they sit on your hands and on our shoulders. I actually changed my main coop idea for our keeper hens because of it to an aviary design. Oh, because of that, you changed it to an aviary design. But I'll be using your design for my meat. Well, hey, use what works for you. I don't have any problems with using there's no reason you shouldn't use an aviary design. I do like my quail hutches. They've worked really, really well for me, but, you know, that doesn't mean they're going to work really, really well for everybody else. Walt says, when I drove an 18-wheeler milk tanker, a cow liked to watch my truck. Yeah, interesting. Reap What You Sow says 16 weeks till they start laying 15 to 25 per hen. There we go. I knew you might have an answer on that one. Thank you very much. Rhonda says, my bobwhite quail like to peck at me, but I'm hoping once they go outside, they calm down a little bit. My hen gets mad when I take her eggs. Yeah, I've had a few hens kind of get a little bit aggressive with me. It doesn't seem to be, I mean, it kind of looks like when I'm taking their eggs, they get aggressive, but really it's when I stick my hands in the cage, they get kind of aggressive and want to peck at my hands. But again, it doesn't hurt at all. So I don't worry about it. I just let them do it. Walt says expanded metal for stucco has lots of sharp edges. That'd be something to keep in mind as well. How are we doing on time here? About that time to get this wrapped up for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. We got one or two more comments coming in here on answer, and then I gotta go spend some time with the family before it's time to go to bed. Isabel just made it in, says, sorry I'm late. Hey, I'm sorry you're late too. I don't mean it like that. Don't worry about it. You don't have to apologize for that. I'm just sorry that we don't have much time left. I'm getting ready to sign off right now. But BB says, man, did you get some poison ivy? No, no poison ivy. It's just one little bump on my hand. I don't know. It's probably a bug bite, maybe a mosquito or something. I don't know what it is. Who knows? But probably not. It's not poison ivy. Doesn't look like poison ivy anyway. All right. And then one more from Sean Armstrong says 70-ish eggs hatched out of 120. The eggs were shipped. I think it's a decent hatch rate, right? 70 out of 120. It's not bad. I mean, it's a little bit on the low side, but it's a little over 50%, so it's not bad. I wouldn't be upset with that at all. So congratulations on that. Hopefully you have an even better hatch on your next batch. All right, got to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. Appreciate it when you join every single week. We will see you guys next week. Everybody have a great weekend. God bless each and every one of you.